forever young? Or am I faking on the tip of my tongue? There's a sarcasm waiting for you. I'm willing to trade my soul for a bit of your charm. There's no way I'll fade into oblivion, 'cause I'll keep shining over you all. And if your wings entwining, you better face the fall, keep trying again. Oh yeah, keep trying again. There's mud on the floor, disparate people trying to get through the door, although the room's already crowded. But I'll keep shining over you all. And if your wings entwining, you better face the fall, keep trying again. Oh yeah, keep trying again. Zeros, everybody's trying to be heroes, when all they have to say to be okay is I don't know. And keep trying again. I'll keep shining over you all. With your wings entwining, you better face the fall. Zeros, everybody's trying to be heroes, when all they have to say to be okay is I don't know. Are you okay? I'm not that sure. Forever young, or am I faking on the tip of my tongue? There's a sarcasm waiting for you. I'm willing to trade my soul for a bit of your charm. There's no way I'll fade into oblivion, 'cause I'll keep shining over you all. And if your wings entwining, you better face the fall, keep trying again. Oh yeah, keep trying again. There's mud on the floor, disparate people trying to get through the door, although the room's already crowded. But I'll keep shining over you all. And if your wings entwining, you better face the fall, keep trying again. Oh yeah, keep trying again. Zeros, everybody's trying to be heroes, when all they have to say to be okay is I don't know. And keep.
Hello and welcome to Watkins Glen International for the Great Lakes Truck Series, race number 2 of the first round of the Great Lakes Truck Series playoffs. And I'm here in the booth with Elliot Henderson. How are we doing, Elliot?
Doing well, Kyle. Doing well. We're in for a really good treat today. I think we got a lot of competitive guys up front. 50 laps here around Watkins Glen. I believe it's our third or fourth event here, and it's always a good one. Looking forward to what these guys do.
This should definitely be a blast. Like I mentioned, it's race number 2 of the first round of the playoffs here in the Great Lakes Truck Series. I'm going to take a quick look at the point standings currently heading into race number 2. You see Ross Brockman has retaken the points lead. He hasn't led the points since the beginning portion of the season. You have Matthew Durr in second, William Barbagellata in third, Hunter Madalinas in the fourth spot, Aaron Duclos in fifth, Eric Kep in sixth, and then this is where it gets really close. Daniel Nanny's only 1 point above the bubble, which is Hunter Brittle. Hunter Brittle, like I just mentioned, is on the bubble. 8 points behind him is Ashton Lawson, and then it's a three-way tie for those 8 points behind Hunter Brittle. It's Ashton Lawson, Gavin Fitzgerald, and Shane Neiswanger. And then behind him is Jake Miller, and then rounding out your 13 playoff guys is Michael Sensi in the 92, who is not here tonight. So that's going to put him in a must-win position next week.
Yeah, since you mentioned the fact that he wasn't going to be here for a couple weeks, I don't think anybody was aware that it was the first 2 weeks of the playoffs. So we'll be interested to see if he comes back. And just an update on the Jake Miller situation: 20-point deduction for the incident last week with Christopher Heller. They ran over each other there in turn 1, and Jake essentially admitted, "Hey, that's on me. I did it on purpose. I wanted to dump him. He was in my way, and I was tired of it." So a negative 20-point deduction towards Jake coming into this race, which puts him almost at a must-win as well. And he knows that Bristol's not his strong suit. He's your defending winner here, and it'd be his best chance to go ahead and get this one done, get this round done and over with, put himself into the next one, and start to focus on Nashville, because I don't think he has any plans to go and run well at Bristol. He usually tries to skip that race whenever it's in the regular season. So I think you're going to want to see him run up front, win this one, and call it done for this round. But that is why he is so far back in the points after going into the playoffs as your points leader, essentially.
Just to wrap that up real quick, Jake Miller would have been your points leader heading in tonight if it wasn't because of that penalty. He was your highest finisher last week. But now we're going to go through some of your starting lineup, of course. On the pole, it looks like it's the number 24 of Ashton Lawson. On the outside, we've been talking about him, Jake Miller in the second spot.
Nathan Nicholson will start third, with Hunter Madalinas, 5-time winner on the season, starting fourth.
In the next row number 3, our broadcast partner, Alex Kolonix. On the outside is William Barbagellata.
Gavin Fitzgerald rounds out 7th, with Aaron Duclos lining up 8th.
In the next row number 5, it's Tyler Mcclellan, and on the outside, it's Trent Curtis.
With Brandon Barkowski in 11th, Sam Hoff in 12th.
It looks like we're going to go green flag racing right here off the final turn here at Watkins Glen International. Ashton Lawson is going to lead him down to the green flag. And the pace car is going to pull off right here. The number 24 Hooters machine takes the green flag. Jake Miller on his left side. And they're going to try to line up here, but here comes Nicholson in the number 11 trying to get underneath Miller heading into turn 1.
I know Nicholson and Jake are going to work well together. They're not teammates, but they're going to work together because Nicholson knows what's on the line for Jake. He's not going to play too many games with him. If Jake can break away here and just track down Ashton, I think he might have something for him. Ashton was incredibly fast the last time we were here, ultimately threw it away with a mistake off of pit road, hit the wall coming up through the S's. So look for Ashton to try to get that redemption, but Jake Miller right there, P2, going to follow him through the S's here.
Jake Miller right in there behind him. Nathan Nicholson in that third spot, and right behind them, it's Hunter Madalinas and Alex. He's trying to get under Hunter, it looked like for a second there. He's in that 5th spot, and then All-American 66 right there.
No issues through the back of the field. There were a few black flags that people had to start with. Barbagellata sorry, Bargellotta had his cleared. Steve McLean, Daniel Nanny, Justin Mons, and Samuel Hoff all started at the rear of the field. So Daniel Nanny having to crawl out of a hole tonight. Started this race from about 30th. He's only up to about 27th and just made contact with Hunter Brittle back there. So Brittle also in the thick of it. Dustin Visser right behind them going off. He's actually going to spin, unfortunately, through our screen there. But Brittle, Nanny, and a couple of these guys having to start from the rear, and that may really dash their hopes. You can see guys already pitting on lap 1. Interesting strategies with tonight. About 12 to 13 laps these guys can run on fuel, so maybe these guys pitting on lap 1 going to run this one backwards, but expect a lot of these guys to try to save fuel, get to that 13th lap. That way they only have to make 3 stops. These guys pitting on lap 1 means that they're going to have to pit a couple times. Oh, sorry, that's actually the black flag they're serving.
Yeah, they all had pass-through penalties. It looks like these 3 drivers from possibly the previous race, or if they had missed a race when they had that penalty. And they have served that penalty. It looks like Justin Mons, Steve McLean's back there, Daniel Nanny back there as well, serving his penalty. A lot of drivers already in the back of this thing. Dustin Visser back here after that incident. They're hoping for a caution. Last time these guys were here, there was a massive incident, I think, in the early runnings of this thing. I wasn't here for that, so I'm not exactly sure. But it's possible here at the Glen, especially with the biggest field I've seen at a road course all season, and whether it's the trucks or the Cup Series. So a lot of things can happen here today.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think their ruling is really only 1 or 2 laps if that massive accident happens, and we're past lap number 2 now, so I don't know that they'd throw a yellow at this point unless it's a major collision. That wreck last time we were here happened going into the bus stop in that race, and it was about 5th or 6th place with like 10 trucks involved, taking out multiple drivers, so they had to throw a yellow for it. It was a track blocker for sure, but clear running right now. Ashton Lawson putting down the pace. Jake Miller hanging around 1.3, 1.5 seconds back, with Nicholson and Madalinas about a half a second behind him, battling for that 3rd position. But right now, it looks like it's going to be clean and green from here, and these guys that started at that back with that black flag are going to have to really figure out what they want to do strategy-wise. Maybe stay out an extra lap, or, you know, pit. You really can't pit early. If these guys pit on 13, there's no way that you can pit on 12 and make it with the same amount of stops. So there's no early pit stops here, and people were saying maybe you could stretch to 14, but they were looking at 12 to 13 laps as we look at a replay here.
You hate to see it for some of these drivers right here. I mean, here you see, the number 94, it looks like, got spun around. That's Justin Benda. Yeah, Justin Benda in the Coors Light Chevrolet. But as I was saying, you feel for a lot of these guys that have these black flags, because at most tracks, when you have that black flag, you're either going to maybe go 1 lap down or maybe even stay on the lead lap. But you're going to get cautions at short tracks and speedways, especially here in the Great Lakes Truck Series. We've gotten a decent amount of cautions this season in a lot of races. But here at the Glen, there's a good chance we're not going to get any cautions today. So you're exactly right, Elliot. A lot of these drivers that are stuck back here, whether it comes to black flag or someone like Dustin Visser or Justin Benda, who spun it around, they're going to have to figure out strategy to get themselves back into this race.
Really tight battle for 3rd up here, but back to that black flag situation, I think they're kind of somewhat at an advantage because they have a chance with this being a 50-lap race, and as long as it's going to be, they have a chance to kind of go out there and gather spots back. I know there's no yellows for them to bunch the field back up, but if guys like Daniel Nanny, who we know are pretty fast on road courses, Hunter Brittle has shown a lot of pace throughout the season. I'm not sure how his road course game is, but if these guys can just pick guys off one at a time, they're not going to jump back up to the top 5 or win this thing, no. But they have a chance to potentially make a decent day out of it, whereas at a different track, they could be collected in some type of calamity back there. If they can avoid these little 1-car incidents that happen, like the Justin Benda incident, and get out of there nice and clean, they'll be able to move on and not have any issue. As Nicholson and Hunter Madalinas are going at it. Alex Kalanick's around the outside of Hunter, and this battle for 3rd is heating up. 3 guys under a blanket right now wanting this spot as Jake Miller and Ashton Lawson check out.
Yeah, it looked like Hunter was getting held up by the number 11 right there of Nicholson, and Alex got to these drivers and was able to get past Madalinas, and now he's going to set his sights on Nicholson. Number 11 and Nicholson, one of the fastest drivers usually on these road courses, running right now in the 3rd spot, having a very good run here very early on in the race. There you see Alex. I love the picture. I love the picture. Bransky was talking about that in the comments, and I love it. I love it.
I mean, who doesn't like a little bit of Breaking Bad, Saul Goodman? But Yeah, Nicholson a new scheme too as well. That Red Bull scheme looking pretty good, and I don't think Watkins Glen is one of his favorite tracks. He said he put in a lot of practice for this one to make sure he's up to snuff, but this is not one of his better road courses or one of his favorite road courses. Alex got in the grass right there. Hunter's going to have a shot at him now coming off the final corner. Really large mistake by Alex that you don't normally see out of him, but caught it in the grass, saved that truck somehow, which is not easy to do. Now Hunter's going to tack on into turn one. How about Tyler Mcclellan right there? He's
There he
going to go to the
goes.
inside of
Woo!
Alex.
I've been watching him the last lap and a half. Tyler Mcclellan is flying in that number 44 Dr. Pepper machine. He's been looking really strong here early on here at the Glen, and he is charged up on Alex and Hunter in the last couple of laps.
Another split-second esports driver we don't talk about very often, Tyler Mcclellan, but he's running up here right around 6th, running in the top 10, started 9th, just kind of bought a couple spots in the start of the race, and now he's trying to track down Alex and Hunter Madalinas and all these guys that we know are really fast road course aces. But Tyler comes from a road course background with with sports cars and other types of racing, likes to do endurance stuff. So this is right up his alley, and he's really familiar with Watkins Glen. It's just different with the truck, but call him somewhat of a road course ringer. Not really surprised to see him up here in the top 10, but can he finish this out and potentially get a top 5 around these stellar talents that we've seen week in and week out dominate these road courses in this series?
This battle is heating up right here. You're seeing it on your screen. William Barbagelata and Gavin Fitzgerald. Gavin's been all over Barbagelata for the last 4 or 5 laps. Hasn't really been able to get the opportunity to make a move because I think he's a little bit quicker than Barbagelata, but not in the right spots on the racetrack to make the move around the 27 right now.
Let's be honest, those are also 2 teammates that don't have a lot of love lost between each other. They've been involved in a lot of stuff recently. And I think Gavin's kind of just of the mindset that he needs to go out and he needs to get these points. He's frustrated coming off of his best season ever in season 3. Entered this season really thinking that he could contend for a title, make that final 4 and go for it. And right now he's kind of struggling, mired back in points. He's got to try to get these points back. And I think he's just of the mindset now that he's got to get going and he can't really care about these teammates holding him up.
You're looking at Brandon Burkuski, looking like Juan Pablo Montoya out there in the riding in the 10th spot, right in front of Aaron Duclos right now. Riding around there most of this race so far, he has Trent Curtis right in front of him. Trent Curtis is having a good race in his return. I know he's really strong at the road courses.
Yeah, we know, like we've heard that Trent's pretty strong. For him to be 9th is honestly kind of surprising to me. I thought he'd be a top 5 contender. I mean, there's 40 laps to go in this one, 42 or 43 as we take lap 7 this time by. But, you know, kind of surprised to not see him straight up at the front yet. But, or I'm sorry, we're on lap 8. But he will hopefully make his way up there and start gaining some ground. I think he's more of a long run, let it go type of guy because the tires will wear out and that back end will get really shifty. But kind of surprised to see Brandon Duclos, Will Reichert all right around here. You figure Brandon's usually a top 5 guy himself, maybe not super familiar or big fan of these road courses. And Duclos has been consistent on about every track, running right around 10th. So not a huge surprise to see him 11th, but kind of figured that he might be able to crack that top 10, but he's right around all those other quick guys. So not super surprising to see these guys around here, just kind of interesting to see them fall where they are at this point. We'll have to see where it all evens out. But right now, all these guys just moseying on in their top 10s, trying to pick off the spots they can and potentially look towards when that first pit stop happens in the next few laps.
They're going to be making a couple of pit stops here today. You're mentioning the fuel windows around 12 to 13 laps. So they're going to be making those first set of stops here very soon in the next 4 or 5 laps, I'm thinking. The question is, who's going to be the first one to dunk down pit road? Are they all going to come on the same lap? That's a question I have in my mind too, because that pit window is very close for a lot of these drivers.
Battle for third is heating back up. Madalina's right back on Nicholson. I think Hunter has a lot more speed than a lot of these guys wish he had, because he, I don't know, I don't remember when he passed Kalanick's back. I think that was when Kalanick made that mistake, but Hunter right back here, right on the back of the 11 truck and looking to put pressure on him and potentially get up there to Jake Miller, Ashton Lawson. And Ashton's gone, by the way. Ashton is 4 seconds out on Jake. There's not really any competition there. Jake's got another about 2 seconds on Nicholson, and he's just hoping Nicholson can hold back Hunter. But Hunter on his bumper, really trying to pressure him for this third spot.
Hunter's right there. He's trying to make the move. Can he make the move here before the end of the lap? He's trying to find space. He's
You can
just
see
has just not
Nicholson's
space.
really defensive here as well, cutting to the inside, taking his lane away, and pulling some of those road course maneuvers of just running the bottom lane and saying, you're going to have to go around the outside of me if you're going to get to me. And it's pulling Kalonix back, and it's making Hunter work really hard. You saw him slide off the corner, but Kalonix is pulling back, and Tyler McClellan's not too much further behind him either.
Yeah, this is what happened last time. The exact same situation. Hunter was able to drive up to Nathan pretty easily, and then got held up behind him. Just couldn't complete the pass, and Alex was able to drive right back up to him. But now we have Tyler in the 44 as well, so this could be a 4-truck battle here soon enough if Hunter can't get past the number 11.
Yeah, I'm not sure that Nicholson's really holding anyone up. I just think Hunter has the pace, and then these guys race each other, and that hurts Nicholson's own pace because he's focused on Hunter. Looks like Hunter might get the job done here. Wow, they about make contact into the bus stop. Nicholson closes the door. Hunter has to back out of it. Some smart, respectful racing here, but I think it's because Hunter knows what's on the line for him. He can't sit here and wreck out of a race, especially with how close he might be to that cut line. I mean, one mistake here puts him back in about 30th. That's a huge points loss. He just needs to come out of here with the top 5 he knows he's quick enough to get. If he can't go get that win, there's no need to force anything here. Just work your way around Nicholson and pick off where you can. Maybe wait for the pit stop that's coming up and see if you can outdo him through there. But Kalonix back on this battle. Visser's going to slow this down a little bit. Nicholson has to go to the inside. Hunter will probably follow him through, but these three will be right on top of each other, probably exiting turn 1 here.
And Nicholson's going to send it into 1 and clear Visser. Oh, almost oh, there he goes. Nicholson saves it. What a save. Looked like they didn't quite make contact, but they were very close. And Nicholson almost spun it around. And now you have 3 trucks under a blanket right there. You have Nathan, you have Hunter, and you have Alex. All 3 of them right there under a blanket.
Well, I said they'd be on top of each other leaving turn 1, but I just didn't think it would be. I can't even blame Visser, really. I mean, Nicholson started to close the door back and go to the outside, and I don't know why he wouldn't just stay in the lane and enter the corner, normally. I guess he really wanted that run off, trying to arc it, but a lot going on there for Visser to understand, and that brings Hunter right back to him, and now we've got a 3-way battle.
Well, all these drivers are battling. Lawson continues to gap the field. He just ran a whole second quicker than second place Jake Miller, and around a second quicker than all 3 of these drivers as well. So these drivers need to settle whatever battle they got going on right now and try to get up to Ashton Lawson because he's pulling away. And here comes Alex, going to try to make the move on Hunter, and he's not going to be able to make it right there. He's going to have a bad run off the corner, and Hunter's going to have a fantastic run and be able to gap him by a good amount down the front stretch.
It's going to be interesting to see how frustrated Hunter gets in this situation. He obviously has the speed to get around Nicholson. Nicholson is playing very defensive, running his race, but also making sure that Hunter doesn't get to him. Again, Nicholson knows that he doesn't want Hunter to pass him because of the Jake Miller alliance here that's going on that we just know from the 25-11 and split-second camps. If Hunter gets around Nicholson, that's just another point that Hunter can get and potentially go get Jake, and that's a point that Jake can lose, and the negative 20 points is going to kill Jake at this point. What Hunter needs to realize is he's racing around 2 guys that don't care what he's doing. They don't care about the playoffs. Both of these guys are not full-time guys in this series. They're not here for points. They're here to just get a nice, solid finish. Best case scenario, they get a win, but they're starting to fall off the pace a little bit here. But these 2 are going to race him as hard as they can because they're here for a finish. They're not here for points. They don't care if they end up wrecking their trucks or not. Hunter just needs to play this super patient, try to figure his way around Nicholson, but he can't get too frustrated. Maybe let Kalonix get in front of him and work his way around him, but it's definitely going to start to set in with Hunter that it's going to get frustrating just trying to work his way around. He's going to have a run here, potentially to the inside. He'll go. Let's see if he can get him into turn 1.
Let's see what he does here. He's going to send it. He's going to send it into turn 1, and Nathan's not going to give him any space. He's all the way on the curb, and bad run off the corner for Hunter. Now here comes Alex to his inside. Whoa, that was almost an accident.
And that's the respect level of Alex, understanding what Hunter's here for. You see the blue spoiler, you got to kind of yield to the guy. You don't have to, but you don't want to be the guy to dump him. So Alex being really nice and cordial there, but he's going to get a run on him into the bus stop, doesn't take it. All these guys just under a blanket, and this is the battle right now. There's nobody that's as close as these 3 are, besides maybe Barb and Fitzgerald, but William Barber-Gelot and Gavin Fitzgerald, that battle's been going on for lap after lap, and it hasn't really sorted out. So I'm starting to think that maybe Gavin's just comfortable, and he's going to try to use that pit stop to ultimately pass Barb, like maybe Hunter Madalinas might do with Nathan Nicholson.
And this group of 3 is approaching 2 lap cars. Going to pass one of them right here, and that's James Shiflett in the 28. And now they're going to approach Jason Keffler in the number 7 machine, and that West Virginia Mountaineers Chevrolet approaching him pretty quickly off the final turn. Both these drivers have damage and are currently 1 lap down. Here comes Madalinas. He has a great run off the corner. What does he do with it? What does he do? Oh, he's going to really back off, trying to maybe get the run off. And here comes Alex on the inside. What a move from the 66. Contact. Oh, man.
Again, frustration for Hunter. I mean, he really doesn't have anywhere to go. He's all over Nicholson now. He's lost both of these spots just trying to get up there and pass Nicholson, and he just can't go anywhere. And now he's kind of stuck behind both of them at this point.
I think Hunter just needs to be a little more aggressive. I think what I'm seeing out of him, he's trying to pass him cleanly, which I get. But if you can't get past him cleanly, maybe give him a little bump. Don't wreck him or anything, but give him a little taparoo, as Happy Gilmore would say, and get on around him.
By the way, something's happened here. These guys are actually making it much further on field than I anticipated. We're already on lap 14. Tyler Mcclellan has made his pit stop, knowing that he can short pit this. He might come out ahead of this group just based off the times he was running. That's a smart move from the guy that was just running 6th, and that could really hurt someone like Hunter Madalinas. Maybe Hunter should have tried that short pit strategy and pit on lap 13. Now he's going to come in right behind Nicholson. They're both going to pit.
Lawson and Miller are also on pit road. Your 2 leaders are on pit road as well. It looks like about everybody's going to come on pit road this time around. I think this is the end of the window. So we were a little off. It wasn't 12 to 13. It was more like 12 to 14. But here are these drivers on to pit road, our race leaders. Who's going to get off pit road first? This is a huge pit stop for these 3 especially. You see them coming into their box. And they're all right next to each other too.
Yeah, Madalinas, I don't know. I think I would have wanted a short pit instead of stay out this long, because he could have broken away from those 2, and with the pace he had, probably would have been fine. He might still come out behind both of them. He'll get Nicholson. That's a good play there for him, but now he's going to have to focus on Alex when they come off of pit road here. Let's see where Tyler sorts out. It looks like he might actually be behind this whole group still.
Lawson came out way out in front of these drivers. Then Miller. Oh, it looked like Miller just got into the wall coming through the S's, trying to maybe get a lot of speed out of the car. And I think he did. He got a lot of damage to that right side. He smacked the wall coming through the S's after exiting pit road, trying to get up to speed. That's too early to be making a mistake like that. But good thing he has a good bubble between himself and the number 66.
Yeah, and this battle's not going to die off anytime soon. Hunter's got the pace. I know Alex is going to be incredibly fast here, but I really think Hunter had that 3rd place pace. So we'll have to see if he can go charge and challenge Alex here and potentially give Jake another little bit of a help. But Jake is not very far up the road from these guys now. He's about just a few seconds. It was over a 6-second gap, but you can see as he goes into the final corner that he's just ahead of this group here. So not a very positive pit stop for Jake Miller, and he's going to have to try to work that out for the rest of this race, unfortunately.
Jake Miller riding in that 2nd spot. Here you see Alex and Hunter right here. These guys have been able to put a gap between themselves and Nicholson after those pit stops. We'll see if Nicholson can maybe drive himself back up there. Tyler Mcclellan is currently in the 6th spot. You have Trent Curtis in 7th. William Barbagelata currently in 8th. Gavin Fitzgerald in 9th. And then your current top 10 in the 10th spot is Brandon Barkuski in the Montoya Toyota.
And that battle also hasn't died off. Duclos has been right around him this entire time. They've been quite close together. I'm sure they're going to be pretty friendly after this. But those guys both battling for that 10th position. One of them a playoff guy. The other one switched to this series hoping to make the playoffs. Unfortunately could not grasp that win with some stellar runs and did not make the playoffs. But Duclos, I'm sure, saying, I'd love to get that 10th place position and get that extra point, no matter how small that may seem.
Every point will count, especially someone like Aaron Duclos. Aaron Duclos came into this race 18 points above 9th place Ashton Lawson. And Ashton Lawson, he's your race leader. He might come out of this with the victory. So he can lock himself into the next round if he's able to get the job done tonight. And that will change up the whole playoff picture heading into the final race of the 1st round.
Yeah, I mean, if we left here with the points exactly how they were coming in and then just moved Ashton to the win, um, as Nicholson drops out. Sam Hoff has also dropped out of this race. Packet loss, I believe that's an internet issue, but Nicholson has now disconnected. So that gives Tyler Mcclellan the 5th position and leaves Hunter Madalinas in 4th to go track down Alex Kalonix. But Ashton Lawson coming in here 9th in points ultimately would really hurt Brittle or Nanny because of the fact that if he won this race, he'd be a lock-in for the next round. So they'd have to go to Bristol and hope for the best. We know Nanny's fast at Bristol, but there's a lot of other names all around this bubble that are also going to be fast there, like Shane Nicewanger, Gavin Fitzgerald, and Hunter Brittle. So it'll be interesting to see how this race plays out, but right now, Ashton Lawson in the catbird seat, also still driving away. Jake Miller with that damage and potentially a little bit of a loss of confidence there is starting to lose ground to Ashton as he has throughout this run.
I would like to point out that Ashton, he's catching up to 3 lap cars who are battling for position. So I don't know I don't know if they'll move right on over for him. I would assume so, but you know what happens when you assume. Got Justin Mons right in front of him, Steve McLean right there, Justin Benda is not too far in front of him, also battling for position, and Mons and McLean are still battling right here in front of Lawson. Lawson's trying to find space by, or are they going to let him through? Looks like Mons is going to let him by, but McLean's going to stay in front of him for now in the 37.
Yeah, you got Keffer up the road right there as well. So a nice stack of 4 drivers. McLean will run wide, so next is going to be Keffer. And for Jake's purpose, it's just going to be, do these guys get out of the way as easy for me as they did for Ashton Lawson? Steve got out of the way pretty easy, and as soon as Ashton got next to Justin conceded a spot. Keffer does the same. Mons almost makes contact with Keffer going into the corner. I don't think he expected him to slow down that much, and Ashton's through those 3 and looking towards Benda now.
Now Ashton is going to try to get to Justin Benda to put him a lap down in the Coors Light machine. Justin Benda trying to recover from that spin out he had earlier in the Coors Light Chevrolet. Currently the last driver on the lead lap in that number 9. Whoa, and he's just going to move out of the way for the number 24 right there. I was wondering if maybe he got a little bit of an issue there for a second, but he's just going to move out of the way for the 24. And Ashton Lawson, now he's clear sailing in that Hooters machine.
Jake Miller now attacking Jason Keffer, making his first Truck Series start. Up through the S's, he'll clear him nice and easy and start to look towards Mons and McLean, who go into the bus stop side by side here. And they're still battling for that spot pretty heavy. Mons wants it. That's all for 21st. With Justin Benda right there in 20th. Those are 3 actual positions for these guys, so they're all kind of worried about trying to get that.
One driver that's been really on the move since the beginning of this race. I'm impressed that I've been watching his lap times, but I've been just impressed on where he's been able to get. That's Daniel Nanny. Nanny's been able to drive himself without any cautions and having to drive down pit road. He's up to 15th. That's impressive. He just got in front of Matthew Durr and Kevin Watler, both of them on that last lap. And now he's going to try to get to Matt Daniels and Hunter Brittle. So a good run from Daniel Nanny after starting the race basically on pit road. One of those drivers that had that drive-through penalty at the beginning of the race. There you see him on the screen. He's trying to get up to Matt Daniels right now in the number 25. Daniel Nanny came into this race only 9 points above the cut line. And I've mentioned Ashton Lawson is your race leader. He's the 9th guy in points. That's going to shift the bubble. And here's Duclos getting in front of Barkuski.
Yeah, the other name was Brittle there. I mean, Brittle also penalty drove all the way up to 13th. Now he's got Shane about a second up the road in front of him and has a chance at potentially getting to Eric and Barkuski within 10 seconds or so. So, I mean, Brittle still has a shot at a top 10. Like I said, I mean, if you just take this nice and clean, Kalonix really loose out of the bus stop, almost makes contact with Hunter Madalinas. Hunter through for 3rd. Sorry, I was just watching that battle out of the corner of my eye, but they all made it through as they were trying to get around the lap car of Justin Benda. But right now, you've got Brittle and Nanny have both driven their way up through here, so they both have shown that they're pretty stout on these road courses. And if they started up towards the front, they may have something to say. But right now, impressive to see them drive their way up through there from the low 20s, pretty much back half of the field, all the way up to the top 15, potentially trying to get after top 10 finishes here.
Definitely a great performance from those 2 drivers, the 2 drivers that came into this race 7th and 8th in points. So it's a good time to get a good performance like that. And here you see Alex and Hunter, they just continue to battle. Hunter's been able to get in front of Alex after Alex making a mistake, getting a little loose out of the bus stop. But now Hunter hasn't been able to quite gap him that much yet. And they're approaching Mons and McLean, who have been continuously battling for that spot.
I'm also looking at Tyler Mcclellan here, who doesn't seem to have any damage or anything on his truck. Remember when Nicholson dropped out, he was given that 5th position, and he had a gap over guys like Trent Curtis, William Barbagelata, and Gavin Fitzgerald.
Whoa, there goes McLean! McLean just spun right in front of Madalinas. That was very close. Very close call for Madalinas. Madalinas had to get off the accelerator going into the bus stop and then coming out of the bus stop as well. That was very close. I think Madalinas had disappeared. Where did Hunter Madalinas go? Didn't look like he had gotten involved in the incident, but he's gone. I don't see him on the racetrack.
Hunter may have also had a packet loss issue. I don't see the pop-up, so he definitely has some type of internet issue. It's not a manual disconnect.
You'd hate to see that from Hunter Madalinas. Hunter Madalinas, one of our road course ringers, and came into this race 19 points above the cut line. So this is huge playoff implications. If he is lagged out of the server, he is still not back, and he continues to lose positions when it comes to the scoring monitor.
Yeah, like I said way at the beginning when he was battling around Alex and Nicholson, was just to, you know, keep it cool and get that top 5. He was solidly in the top 5. And unfortunately, I mean, it looks as though there's a packet loss issue. I mean, nothing has popped up still, so there's a very serious issue internet-wise with him. He's not come back to the server, and I believe that's going to ultimately lag him out. He is now disconnected due to packet loss. Wow.
It has just popped up, and that is huge playoff implications, and you got to feel bad for Madalinas. Possibly the 3rd fastest truck, at least, maybe even the fastest truck here tonight, and he's not going to be in victory circle tonight, Elliot. You have to feel for Madalinas, a driver of his caliber, especially on the road courses.
He's going to look back at this one and wonder where the other 20 points went at this point. I really hope that this doesn't hinder his playoffs at all. We may see him go dominate Bristol, who knows, but at this point you just got to pray that buffer is enough to ensure that you're good to go. I guess the positive is that he did not get obliterated by anybody, and it's straight up just an internet problem for him, but definitely frustrating nonetheless for Hunter Madalinas to be essentially out of this race and finish this one. He's going to drop all the way back to about 25th here, if not worse.
And the last track you'd ever want to count on is Bristol. The way these playoffs are set up, the knockout round race is Bristol. So that's the last race I would ever want to count on to go out there and dominate. But Madalinas is going to need to have himself a good day next week at Bristol.
Drama. Sam Hoff dropped out. I don't know that he's returned, though, since. So he's showing -8 laps. Nicholson has already left. Keffer's the last one running, 2 laps down in 28th. Hunter is showing 2 laps down. If he's able to get back in the server, he should be able to pass a couple of these guys, as Keffer and Shiflett look damaged and their trucks are pretty hurt. But I mean, even if he gets back in here, he's only going to be able to climb himself up to about 25th or 24th. So it's almost null and void how much you really want those 4 points, but incredibly frustrating for Hunter, who is running solidly inside the top 5 and had a top 5 race going.
And the last thing he needs also is the drivers that are outside the bubble doing as well as they are right now. You have Ashton Lawson, who's leading the race. He came into this race 9th in points. You have Gavin Fitzgerald, who's 6th. He came into this race 10th. You have Neiswanger, who's 11th in the race, a pretty decent run from him. You have Jake Miller, who's 2nd right now. So all the drivers that are outside of the bubble right now are running in the top 6, except for Shane Neiswanger in that 11th position.
Yeah, and again, that situation only helps people like Nanny and Brittled to crawl their way up. They'd be 2 spots back if it wasn't for Nicholson and and Hunter falling out. So Hunter has reconnected. I'm sure he'll try to get back as many places as he can. He still has over half a race to go to gain these spots back. But wow, very frustrating, I'm sure, for him. But again, the 19-point buffer is there. He did a great job in the regular season to put himself seated towards the top. And he comes in here with a 19-point buffer after the Michigan race. So you just got to hope and pray that that's going to be enough at the end of this one. But that's a 20-point swing for him straight up. So ultimately, he will be leaving here outside of the top 8 pretty much without a doubt, especially with Jake running second and Shane around 10th. These guys aren't running in really bad spots. They're running up towards the front. So it's going to put him in a hole that he's going to have to dig himself out of going into Bristol.
Very big hole. And once again, like I said, Bristol is just the last place I would ever want to put my faith into. That and maybe Talladega or Daytona. Like those are the places I'm not going to put my faith into to get a lot of points and make a comeback. It's just not the place to do it. But you might get lucky. Here you see Aiden DuPont in the 00 look like he went off track and spun it around very hard into the tire barriers on the inside of the track. Visser is going to have to avoid him in the 96 right there.
And unfortunately, that really gets rid of our super fun battle that we had going on, because that was kind of the highlight, was Alex and Nicholson and Hunter all battling each other for that 3rd spot. Your next closest battle is still this Barbara Gelada, Gavin Fitzgerald deal, which, again, they're teammates. I'm assuming they're literally just riding here. They're not going to try to race each other super hard at this point, and they'll try to sort it out as time goes on. Duclos is another 7 seconds back. Barkowski has lost ground to him as he starts to close in on the Justin Bender lap car. And then a good bit up the road is Eric Kep. Trent Curtis, I believe, may have gone off track. He
made an early pit stop.
Okay, I was going to say he slipped pretty hard, but he's playing the pit strategy of short pitting everyone, and it helped him the first time. He jumped ahead of Barb and Fitzgerald. So if he keeps playing this strategy and keeps having the laps he's having, someone like Tyler McClellan may actually be in trouble with this strategy. Trent's been pretty fast. He could see himself in the top 5 by the end of this one, and that'd be pretty phenomenal considering how this race started for him, where, I mean, he definitely has some front-end damage and has seen some stuff so far.
Has definitely seen some stuff so far. Trent Curtis is very strong on the road courses. Definitely been around a lot of madness today coming through the field, but Curtis looking good, and maybe this strategy, like you said, Elliot, can get him a top 5, because I definitely think he has top 5 speed, but the question is, does he have the time to get there, and will the strategy work out for him?
Time will tell. He's got half a race to pull it off. Hunter Madalinas back on track right behind Ashton Lawson. Wonder how nice Ashton's going to be to him as Hunter comes out here 4 laps down, trying to get one of them back to put him 3 laps down and try to track down Jason Kepper, Dustin Visser, and James Shiflett. But Ashton's not exactly just going to move out of the way for him here. So not the battle for the lead that Hunter wanted, but he gets to at least test himself against Ashton on a little bit fresher tires here. He's going to easily go to the inside, make this pass into turn 1. I do wonder if this maybe puts Hunter on a little bit of a different strategy. Technically, that means he short pitted all these guys, so potentially he could make up a good amount of time over guys like Keffer and Visser who aren't going to try this short pit strategy, I'm pretty sure, and he could see himself gaining a little bit of time on these guys through that.
Yeah, the key for Madalinas at this point is just to get as many positions as he can, because you're right, he can get a good amount of spots. He can get to Keffer, DuPont. You can probably get to Visser, maybe even Shiflett, Nogel, maybe even Anderson Bowen. Maybe even get up to that 22nd spot. A lot of these drivers have been lagging back for a good amount of the race and have damage. So there's no reason why you can't get at least up to 22nd. I think everybody else up there above that is out of reach.
Pit stops have started, and it started with McClellan, Barbara Gelada, and Gavin Fitzgerald. As it did previously, these guys all kind of short pitting. I don't know that McClellan and these guys are aware of the strategy that Trent Curtis is on. I know Barb's got to be, because Barb came out behind him in the last run. So we'll have to see where Trent sorts out. He's kind of the oddball in this group. He's short pitting the heck out of these guys by 2 or 3 laps, which can equate to several seconds on track. So we'll just have to see how that sorts out, because the tire wear I don't feel like falls off enough for Trent to really drop way off the mark. So if he can just keep making ground up here, he could potentially see himself closing in on Tyler Mcclellan through this strategy. But he actually comes out behind Barb and Gavin this time. He was definitely ahead of them at the beginning of the last run, but again, with all the damage on that truck, I'm not really sure where he may have received it, and if that may have come in the last run. So Jake Miller on pit road now. I believe a couple of the other leaders are as well.
Your race leaders came on pit road. Lawson jumped onto pit road, and Miller tried to get on pit road as fast as he can and almost spun it out coming onto pit road, but he kept his speed up, and I think he got onto pit road under the speed limit. Great job by Miller if he was able to do that, but a very crazy wide entry for Miller. I thought he was going to possibly stay on the track and maybe try to lead a lap for a second there and made that right turn. You're going to see it right here, very wide off the corner, and then basically slides it right into pit road and hits the cone even, and just barely got under the speed limit, I'm pretty sure, in the number 4 machine.
I don't think he did. His tires haven't dropped yet, and Alex Kolonix is gone. This is going to be a 40-second hold for him because he probably sped.
Wow. This is huge. You see it right here. Jake Miller, look like maybe even got a little bit into the wall. Maybe he's even repairing that damage. Maybe he has some mandatory damage because, like I said, he smacked the wall coming through the S's, the number 4 machine, and it looks like he also hit the wall a little bit there as well, right there. Not very hard contact, but I don't know. Jake Miller in the number 4 machine, he's pretty far back now. He's fallen back behind Eric Keff. He's still in the top 10, it looks like, but he's definitely lost some points because of that incident.
Not the way Jake wanted this round to go whatsoever, but still the chance at Bristol. You never know what can happen there and just how crazy that race gets. But I mean, now it's Ashton is in the catbird seat. He had a 10-second gap on Kolonix. We're waiting to see where that reset's going to go. I believe it'll be close to about the same, 10 to 12-second lead. So we'll have to see exactly how far back Kolonix is, but Jake's going to fall. Yeah, it's literally at 10 seconds. Mcclellan just being clean tonight on the podium right now. P3, 6 seconds up on his nearest competition with Barb and Gavin. So, I mean, Tyler Mcclellan may be the guy that makes out like a bandit tonight with all the disconnects and everything going on. He's just been out there running his race, not paying attention to virtually anything, but just keeping that truck clean. And here he is, P3, one more pit stop left on the market and about 20 laps left in the race.
I would definitely keep my eye on Alex, though, as well, because Ashton Lawson's had a phenomenal, basically a perfect night, Ashton Lawson. But I wouldn't count out. We've seen it here at the road courses, especially the driver leading the race, making a mistake, maybe going off track, maybe making a bad shift, maybe self-spinning. There's a lot of things that could happen. Alex can put himself right there in a good position to win this race if something maybe happens to Lawson. He's only 10 seconds back. So if Lawson goes off track or something along those lines, Alex is going to be right there.
Listen, we've had 2 disconnects. I don't think anybody lives per se near Hunter or Sam, but I'd just be worried about anything at this point. 2 random disconnects from the series from the night, and I mean it's very, very easy to make a mistake here between lap traffic, just overdriving a corner. Anything can happen. We saw Jake Miller do it one season, and ultimately overdrove the exit of turn 1. These tires get really, really slippery. It's not hard to do. So, despite the 10-second lead, you're definitely not wrong. Ashton's going to have to be perfect. And we saw it from last season from Ashton. He made the mistake here trying to charge back towards Jake. He was on the short pit strategy. He undercut him. He did it by a lap, and he hit the wall through the S's, similar to how Jake hit the wall. Unfortunately, it completely killed Ashton's truck. It looks like Jake's at least able to soldier on here, but Ashton needs to take all that, learn from it, and just put together clean, solid laps for the rest of this race and get himself home with a win.
We have the moment here. We're going to send it away for a quick side-by-side. We have around 20 laps to go here at Watkins, Glen International. We will be back in a moment.
Welcome, race fans. This is Paul Page, the voice of IndyCars. And today we're excited to present another IndyCar event brought to you by the Dark Horse IndyCar Series. From the Unzers to Mears, Foyt, and Andretti, now it's Corley, Peterson, Davies, Gardner, and Team. You can expect high speeds, incredible wheel-to-wheel action, and intense drama that you could only get in an IndyCar. So sit back and enjoy your favorite drivers from all over the world take the track. Dark Horse IndyCar drivers, start your engine. Welcome, race fans. This is Paul Page, the voice of IndyCars. And today we're excited to present another IndyCar event brought to you by the Dark Horse IndyCar Series. From the Unzers to Mears, to Foyt and Andretti, now it's Corley, Peterson, Davies, Gardner, and T. You can expect high speeds, incredible wheel-to-wheel action, and intense drama that you could only get in an IndyCar. So sit back and enjoy your favorite drivers from all over the world take the track. Dark Horse IndyCar drivers, start your engine.
Hello and welcome back to Watkins Glen International. You just saw it on your screen. It looked like Matthew Durr had spun it around right after coming out of the bus stop area on the racetrack. Number 41 machine. He had to stop on the racetrack because a lot of trucks were driving past him. We're gonna try to get you a replay on the incident with Matthew Durr. Matthew Durr not having the greatest of nights, but came into this race second in the points, so he has a pretty decent gap and a good cushion going into Bristol next week. You see Matthew Durr in the number 41 just loses it. Looks like, oh, very big hit. Oh, it comes all the way across. And look at Alex. Look at your second place driver. Save the car, save the truck.
Yeah, not the most ideal scenario for Alex and not where he wanted to be. I was trying to figure out why he lost about a second that lap, and that'll do it. Probably took the next few corners a little bit easy considering you just had 3 tires in the grass, so, or 4, something like that. Wow, right behind, I think that's Anderson Bowen or someone, or I believe Kevin Watler. Wow, that was not the scenario Alex wanted, certainly not the scenario Matthew Durr wanted. Again, coming in here second in points, going to lose a lot of spots out of that, back to P16 after starting tonight from 19th and working his way up through there. He was ahead of Kevin Watler, I believe, right around where Shane Neiswanger was at about 12. So there goes about 4 points out the window, and he's just got to stay focused and try to minimize the bleeding here with Justin Mons, I believe, certainly right behind him for the next spot, which will be for 17th.
I was mainly impressed that Alex was just able to keep it off the wall. What a phenomenal job keeping it off of the wall. Just around a couple of feet between himself and the wall right there, sliding through the grass and just trying to keep his speed up so he doesn't lose more time to the race leader. And it looks like we have somebody on pit road here. I can't make out who that is.
It's Matthew Durr making his
Matthew
pit
Durr.
stop for the damage repair. And the interesting thing is we've got Gavin up in 4th place now. So with the disconnects and everything, we talk about Ashton, we talk about Alex. They've been up here all day, but how about the guys that started right outside the top 5, like Tyler McClellan, Gavin Fitzgerald, William Barbagelata, sitting here in much better positions than where they would have been otherwise with 2 other guys in the top 4 that have ultimately disconnected or had their troubles between Nicholson and Madalinas, as well as Jake Miller, who's driven his way back up to 7th, potentially going to catch Curtis during this run, but I'm not sure how much further up he can go. He's still about 8 seconds behind Gavin Fitzgerald as of that last lap. So potential to get back up into the top 5, but not sure how much further up he can go.
Jake Miller definitely showing a lot of hustle in that truck, just trying to get as many positions back as he possibly can in that number four Mobile 1 machine. Drove himself back up to the 7th spot, and I can definitely see him catching up to Curtis. Maybe not on this run, but maybe on that last run to the finish. And Barbagelata and Gavin aren't too far out of reach as well, especially for someone like Jake Miller, who has a lot of speed, especially here at Watkins Glen here today. Shiflett getting out of everybody's way. Good move from the number 28 machine, as Gavin and Barbagelata are still very close. Gavin got past him a couple laps ago and has put a little bit of a gap between himself and Barbagelata, including a number 39 machine of Justin Mons.
I'm not sure if Mon's on newer tires or if these guys looks like they're both lapping him at this point, but it looks like the other story that we've got developing is Daniel Nanny has dropped around 20th. He's back up to 18th, but I'm not sure if that's just a differing strategy that he's going on or what caused him to lose the positions. Remember, he was running about 12th or 13th. Because he started back where Brittle and Kevin Watler honestly started, and Watler's driven all the way up to 13th. Meanwhile, Brittle is still solidly sitting in 11th, about 5 seconds behind that Duclos and Barkowski battle that is about a second apart now. Not very close, but still there. Barkowski's since gotten back around Duclos, and he now sits 9th, and Duclos is 10th.
Oh, Nanny's in the inside wall! Got sideways off the
Same
corner.
spot with Durr.
Wow, great save, but hit the wall very hard. I was going to mention how much damage he has on that bumper, but now the right side looks about the same as his bumper. It looks completely destroyed. A lot of damage on this number 30 machine of Daniel Nanny driving that Fanta great machine. And I don't want a Fanta right now, Elliot. I'm not in the mood now.
No, I think we're starting to realize why he's back to about 18th, though, is either he's making mistakes or he's getting caught up in other people's mistakes, because that was a big one from Daniel Nanny. Very similar to Matthew Durr, just got it loose. Luckily, he didn't hit those tires or that black barricade there, because sometimes you can get stuck in them and it can absolutely destroy your race truck. So good on him to stay off of that. Just looks like a light tap with the wall. Look at how much he's trying to counter steer that thing, and it just, he didn't want to lift out, and that's what happens when you try to put down that throttle and it doesn't want to go straight for you. So you can see just how much these tires wear out and how much you got to try to take care of them. These guys that are taking care of them are able to make up a lot of ground at the end of these runs. Kalonix is on pit road, short pitting Ashton Lawson, who stays out. Mcclellan stays out as well. So Mcclellan, who's usually the first guy to pit, is not going to be that guy this time as Kalonix pits. Meanwhile, Fitzgerald and Barbagelata also stay out. So potentially this puts Kalonix in a good or bad position. You really got to wonder where he comes out with lap traffic and if he can make up time now. But he obviously wanted to short pit Ashton with about that 10 to 12 second gap that he had to him, and see if he could eat into that a little bit. Maybe Ashton will make some mistakes and he can make up some time during this 10 lap run at the end here.
Yeah, I like that move from Kalonix. I really like that move a lot, because he has a huge gap between himself and Lawson. He also has a huge gap between himself and Mcclellan. So try something different. Try something different of the leader and just try to get on a different strategy. And that's really the only way he has a good chance at winning this race, pending a huge mistake from Ashton Lawson in the number 24, who's ran a perfect race so far in that Hooters machine.
The negative effect of this is he's stuck behind Barb and Gavin, and I don't know if they're just going to move over for him. Barb actually did, but
Gavin's
I was going to wonder. I was going to wonder if maybe that was going to hinder his drive towards the front a little bit, but as Gavin hits pit road, now he's got a clear lap to put down as hard as he can and start to track down Ashton Lawson. Ashton still has yet to pit, and is going to stay out for at least another lap here, but McClellan is doing the same thing. So these guys both running long here.
Oh, there he goes! There he goes, just like Jeff Gordon in front of Tony Stewart years ago, spins it out in turn 1. Alex trying to get as much speed as you can, as you were mentioning, Elliot, and he just self-spun in turn 1.
Someone tell Tyler McClellan to hit pit road. I mean, that's his opportunity to get a second place finish now, because with how close they were, I mean, it was about 12 seconds, but with now Alex's tires being obliterated by a big slide like that, he might not have too much left in the tank. And if Tyler can run these last 9 or 10 laps hard, he might be able to close that gap down and challenge him. So if Tyler doesn't hit pit road here, I wouldn't be shocked, because he probably doesn't know that happened, but it would benefit him greatly to hit pit road as soon as possible.
You're going to see the replay right here. Alex just takes a wide entry to the corner, and just those fresh cold tires just did not agree with the way he approached that corner, and the car just whipped around on him. He's lucky that it didn't completely spin out and he was able to get back going as quick as he did, but you hate to see it from Alex, who's ran a perfect race of the number 66 machine, a very rare appearance in the Great Lakes Series.
Ashton Lawson's already hit pit road, completed his service. Colonix has already gone around Tyler McClellan, who's still on pit road, completing his service.
Well, Kyle Hall spun it out in turn 1. He was right in front of Alex, and Alex drove past him on the high side, but Kyle Hall spun it out coming out of turn 1. There was Kevin Waltler past him. Kyle Hall, we haven't really mentioned him today, but he's definitely faced some difficulties today. He's been in a couple of incidents, I'm pretty sure, in that number 87 machine.
New group for us to go focus on after pit stops. We've got a group from about 4th back to 8th here between Gavin, Barb, Trent Curtis, Jake Miller. Justin Mons is here, but I believe Justin's a lap down. He's not really in the picture, but Jake has caught Trent Curtis. Curtis still on that short pit strategy, so Jake should be able to dispose of him quickly and start to look towards Barbara Gelada and Fitzgerald, but this is now getting into top 5 category. You really are going to get raced hard to try to get into that top 5 spot, and Barb is not one to just move over.
And I was watching the S's right there, and Curtis felt 120% of that pressure from Jake Miller. He almost smacked into the wall, the same place that Miller smacked into the wall. Then the next corner, he was completely sideways and had a really slow straightaway right there heading into the bus stop, and just set up Jake Miller for an easy pass going into the bus stop. And Jake Miller, I've mentioned it, he is on the move. He might be the quickest truck on the racetrack right now. I'm still not 100% positive on what the issue was on pit road. It was most likely a black flag for speeding on pit road, the number 4 machine, but he is awfully fast right now, Elliot.
There's something about Jake, and when stuff goes wrong, he doesn't really just sit there and sulk. I mean, yeah, you're going to get mad in the moment, but you turn it back up and you turn that wick up. And if Jake turns the wick up, everyone needs to watch out, because he has a ton of speed, and it just makes you wonder, man, if he was driving this hard on lap 4 or 5, where he'd be in this race right now. But he's found something, despite the fact that that truck's got a lot of right side damage, and he's just, you know, been hurt by this penalty and everything. And these guys are now catching lap trucks with Jason Keffer, Justin Benda just ahead. So this will be interesting to see how all 3 of these guys negotiate this. Gavin's going to want to clear Keffer immediately. Barb's going to go right to the inside. Keffer might slow down and actually hurt Jake's entry into the bus stop here. Let's watch this and see if that hurts him at all. Keffer really smart, stays way wide, stays out of the way. Really good call. First league race tonight here in the Great Lakes Truck Series, just staying out of everyone's way, realizing this probably isn't his best place to try to showboat or do anything. And Jake's going to sit here and attack the green car, Mr. Excitement of Barbara Gelada, as well as his teammate Gavin Fitzgerald right up the road as they look to get around Justin Benda now.
Yeah, you mentioned Jason Keffer. He hasn't seemed like he has a lot of speed here, but I've really respected the way he's just moved over for a lot of these guys. Like he even risked getting a black flag through the bus stop right there, moving out of these drivers' way. So definitely some smart racing from him, knowing that he doesn't have as much speed as these drivers and just getting out of their way, knowing that there's only 8 laps to go left here at Watkins Glen International. And here comes Miller right behind Barbara Gelada and Gavin. He wants these spots.
Dustin Visser in the outside wall there, destroyed. I believe he's just going to tow that car and Call that one done. This is best case scenario for someone like Tyler Mcclellan, who's 15 seconds up on this group now with no worries, because now they're attacking each other and racing really hard. They're never going to be able to catch him, even if you gave him another 20 laps with these tires. So Tyler, Alex, and Ashton are all in really good spots. It's just going to be mistake-free. Just run your laps. You don't even need to run, you know, as hard as you can. You have massive gaps. They're all 15 seconds away from the nearest vehicle. So just run your laps, get it done, and get your podium and get out of here. Jake's still on the attack to Barb. He wants this top 5 bad.
I don't think he wants the top 5. I think he wants the top 4 at least. Jake Miller, been one of the fastest trucks all day long. Had an issue. Looked like he might have been speeding on pit road and got held up on pit road for an extra 30 or 40 seconds. And now he's trying to get past Barbara Gelada and Gavin Fitzgerald and get himself back into the top 4, at least after he was running up in second spot for a good amount of the race.
Speaking of points, guys, well, we've got all of this going on. A quick update on Hunter Madalina's. Jake looking to the inside. He's going to get him. Wow.
He might have given him a little bump. That was very close. Or Barb got a little loose going into the corner, because I did see Barb get a little bit loose, and Miller was awfully close to that back bumper. A very good move from Jake Miller. He's able to complete the pass for the 5th spot, and now his eyes are set on Gavin Fitzgerald in that giant Tiger Ford.
Be interested to see how aggressive Gavin gets here. He's not usually the aggressor, but he knows he needs these points. He did not come in here inside the top 8. He can't give up spots, especially to another guy that's not in this top 8. He doesn't care about Jake Miller. Jake Miller's behind him in points. He can't give up another point to Jake. He needs to earn this stuff, and he needs to get himself back in there. Brittle, these guys started with, you know, black flags. They're back in 12th, 11th. You know, they're not running right up front. Eric Kepf isn't right here behind. Well, Eric Kepf unfortunately is right there behind him in 8th, but that's still 3 or 4 points. He can't give up another one. He needs to try to scrounge and get these points back, because again, Ashton Lawson's going to win this race ultimately. And if Ashton does that, that really hurts someone like Gavin Fitzgerald. That moves the cut line.
Inside wall. Huge hit. It looked like it was, was that Trent Curtis? It was. Trent Curtis in the 51 just nailed the inside wall off the final corner. Very big hit for the 51. Looked like Rowdy Burns right there.
And actually, that really hurts Gavin, because that's going to give Eric a free position, and Trent is going to lose that spot out now. So Eric gaining another spot on him, that only puts him about 2 or 3 spots back. He needs to hold off Jake Miller here and gain this extra point.
Yeah, this is very key for Gavin Fitzgerald. He has 5 laps to go. You're not really missing anything up in the top 3. All of the top 3 are on different planets right now. You have Ashton Lawson, who's led the whole thing pretty much. He's 16 seconds in front of Alex Kolonix in the second spot, and then in the 3rd spot, 18 seconds behind him, it's Tyler Mcclellan. So they're all on like completely different planets right now. And then you have Fitzgerald, who's around 15 seconds back of Tyler Mcclellan, and you have Miller right behind him and Barbara Gelada.
Man, I had another story to talk about, but this battle right here is heating up very quickly. Jake is basically to Gavin's back bumper. I'll go over it really quick, though. Hunter Madalinas has displaced guys like Jason Keffer, James Shiflett, Daniel Nanny, Dustin Visser. He's driven around a bunch of guys. He's up to 22nd. He was 29th at 28th, sorry, at one point. That's 6 or 7 points back that he got. That's going to be massive when you look at the cut line at the end of this race. Kudos to Hunter Madalinas for coming back in this, driving as hard as he can here, and trying to scrounge back whatever he lost earlier. If he can get up to about 20th place, that's a huge win for him. Meanwhile, Matthew Durr's back in 20th. Because of all the incidents he's had, Jake's right on the back of Gavin too, but Matthew Durr has lost so much ground as well. That's another big hit. That's a huge help to Hunter Madalinas. He came in here only 2 points behind Durr. Those guys are so close in points. Any of those big separations are very, very helpful to Hunter Madalinas, knowing that someone else is taking the hits with him.
Looks like Miller's trying to set up Fitzgerald for a pass. He's trying to maybe find a way around him. Coming to 3 laps to go this time. Well, 4 laps to go for these drivers, and here he comes, coming into the final corner on this lap, and he's going to try to make the pass on the inside. Fitzgerald not able to get as great of a run off as I thought he would, but they're going to be neck and neck coming down the front stretch. Now, do these guys make contact going into turn 1? What happened?
Hall's going to play a part here. He gave him draft, and then he almost blocked him off. Gavin runs wide. Oh, wow, almost crossed Barb's nose over, but Jake will make the pass. Sorry for taking off that call, Kyle, but wow, that got interesting with Kyle Hall there.
Yeah, it looked like Gavin might have backed off, not wanting to go 3 wide potentially into turn 1, and kind of moved over for Miller. And then when trying to hit the gas, just almost self-spun coming out of turn 1. Barbagelati looked like he gave him some space to breathe, and they're back going in that 5th and 6th spot, and Miller has gotten himself up to 4th.
Yeah, that's just something that I'm really hoping that Gavin can, get more accustomed to, is racing harder. It's something that I feel is what's going to hold him back from, if he makes the Final Four, contending for this championship straight up, because he's very nervous about really getting aggressive in those situations. He needed to try to hold Jake up more and more. We remember what Nicholson was doing with Hunter Madalinas. It puts you in a very awkward spot, yes, but that's how you have to race to get those points. We'll see if he'll do the same thing against Barb. But, I expected him to maybe run Jake a little bit harder into that corner, use Kyle Hall as a pick. Kyle was there and he wasn't moving. So Gavin could have easily used up that situation and made Jake have to run over Kyle or do something evasive. But, you also get the other side of it, where if Gavin goes into that corner and Jake hits him in the door, it's ultimately Gavin's going to spin around. So you get both sides of the coin there, but Gavin really needs these points, man. And you hate to just see him throw them away like that when he potentially could have put Jake in a really vulnerable spot and maybe made Jake make a mistake right there.
I would like to point out one of the spots that Madalinas did end up getting. I'm just really now noticing this, but Daniel Nanny, I think after he took that hard hit to the wall, I think he might have had some severe damage, because he's just now coming off pit road just around 30 or 40 seconds ago. Daniel Nanny, driver of the Phantom machine, was on pit road for many laps. He's now 8 laps down in the 25th machine, and that's huge for the playoff picture. I've mentioned it a lot of times tonight. Daniel Nanny came into this race only 9 points above Ashton Lawson. It's also in that tie for that position is Gavin Fitzgerald and Niswanger, who are all the same amount behind Nanny coming in. You have Fitzgerald, who's up there in the 5th spot. You have Lawson, who's going to potentially win the race. And then you have Shane Niswanger, who's up in 11th. So a lot of lost points for Daniel Nanny here tonight.
The points chart is completely upside down. I mean, Brockman came in here as the leader, and he's running 15th. That just goes to show exactly how difficult it's going to be to get out of here and be in a good points position. He came in here with a 5-point lead, and I guarantee you that's not enough of a buffer to come out of here with a strong lead from 15th. I think that'll basically move Barb up to that spot as Ashton comes to the white flag here. Again, 15-second lead over Alex Kalonix. Tyler Mcclellan, another 35 seconds behind him, and Jake Miller's 50 seconds off of Ashton Lawson's incredible pace tonight. But again, you got to wonder, Jake Miller with his hold and everything, 50 seconds. If it was a 30, 25-second hold, I mean, that eats up half the gap. Miller's still right there about 3rd, trying to battle Kalonix by those timetables. So I'm sure Jake's going to look back on this one and kind of count his frustrations, but you got to hand it to the guy in the 24 truck and what he's done tonight. Took the lead on lap 1, started on pole, and just literally never, I don't think he had to look in the mirror. I mean, he was a second out within the first few laps and just continued to build the lead while everyone else was trying to figure out what it was that he was doing.
Ashton Lawson has just a couple of more turns to go. He's put on a phenomenal performance. We've seen how strong he's been this season, but he has not been able to quite get the job done throughout this year. But here he is at Watkins Glen International. He's looking like Chase Elliott here today in the number 24 machine. He's put on a phenomenal show. Ashton Lawson, he's going to come across the line here today, and he's going to lock himself into the next round of the Great Lakes Truck Series playoffs presented by Patti Engineering. He gets the job done here today at Watkins Glen International. Great job from him. And now the battle right here. This is the battle we've been watching for that 5th spot. Gavin Fitzgerald, William Barbagelata. Who's going to get the spot?
Just don't know that Barb's really gonna have enough. It depends. We know Barb's aggressive. We know Gavin's not. So it'd be interesting to see how aggressive Gavin wants to get, knowing that he's against one of the most aggressive guys. Barb's got the run. Get there. That's about as aggressive as Gavin can get. But can Barb go around the outside here?
This is a great move.
Him down.
This is a great move because it would set him up on the inside. But Gavin throws the block. A block to the inside on his teammate, and Barbagelata's going to jump up high, and he's not going to be able to get the job done. And Gavin Fitzgerald needed a great run. He's going to come home 5th. What a job from Fitzgerald.
that's what I expected to see him do with Jake. He got to block those runs off and try to be really smart with it. Unfortunately, didn't really work out for him with Jake, and Jake kind of drove away. But really smart racing around Barba Gelato there. And man, I got to call Hunter Madalinas' first win, and it's really cool to see Ashton Lawson pull this one off, get this win done. I know he was really frustrated the last time we were here, hitting the wall in the S's. He dealt with all the ridicule from every driver, talking about how aggressive he is and how much he needs to learn. And man, he came out and he learned. I think Watkins Glen is essentially his place now. Jake Miller has owned this place the last few races, but I think Jake's got a little bit of catching up to do with Ashton here at Watkins Glen. Ashton got it done in all the ways he needed to tonight.
Great job from Ashton Lawson. You can tell he's a first-time winner because he just spun it up into the wall. He spins it again up into the wall. Ashton Lawson destroying that truck in his celebration, but he earned it. Lawson put on a phenomenal show. You've mentioned it, how he's came so close many times to getting this victory that he's been just trying to get for so long. But today, it's not like he fell into his lap. It's not like he led a couple of laps and was a decent car, one of the top cars. He was the best car, period. He put on a phenomenal performance, Ashton Lawson in that Hooters machine, and he's burning it down and destroying Watkins Glen International's walls right now. Oh, he's a happy guy right now, Ashton Lawson. We're gonna try to get interviews from the top three. I would like to mention the other two drivers in our top three. Phenomenal, best career finishes for both of these drivers. You have Alex Kolinix, of course, our broadcast partner here at Flatout Racing Network, finishing second in the number 66 machine, and then Tyler Mcclellan. What a race from him, coming home third in the Dr. Pepper machine. You have Jake Miller with a phenomenal comeback in fourth. Gavin Fitzgerald, we mentioned him getting that top five. William Barba Gelato came home sixth. Trent Curtis was able to hold on to seventh. Barkuski was able to charge back and get eighth from Eric Kepf in the ninth spot. And then Aaron Duclos was the first guy one lap down in 10th. That really tells you how fast Lawson was here today. Only 9 guys finished on the lead lap. And if there was a couple more laps, there probably would have only been 6 guys finishing on the lead lap. Let's go on to the next slide. In the 11th spot, you have Shane Neiswanger with a pretty good race tonight, trying to get himself into the next round. Hunter Brittle came into this race on the bubble, able to put in a decent performance in the 12th spot. You have Kevin Watler, 13th. Matt Daniels, our points leader, coming in. Ross Brockman comes home 15th. You have Justin Mons back here, Steve McLean, Kyle Hall, Justin Benda, and Matthew Durr had a lot of issues today, but was able to come home with the top 20 finish. Onto the next slide. In the 21st spot, Hunter Madalinas was able to get 21st away from DuPont, I think, on that last lap. So great job from him to get another point. Like I said, DuPont came home 22nd. You have Jason Keffer in his first career start coming home 23rd. James Shiflett, Daniel Nanny, Dustin Visser back here, Kyle Nogel, Anderson Bowen, Nathan Nicholson ended up coming home 29th. And then Samuel Hoff rounds out the field in 30th. Actually, I think we had Will Ricard as well in the 31st spot, and that's the finishing results for Patti Engineering at the Glen. Great race, Elliot. Any last thoughts before we go into these interviews?
Dude, I'm impressed. You know, we got 3, just like NASCAR had at Talladega this week, and they got 3 brand new winners. We got 3 brand new top 3 guys. I mean, Ashton with his best finish, and then you mentioned Alex and Tyler with their best finishes. You know, really proud of all 3 of those guys to pull this one off. I thought we were going to see a little bit of a showdown, but it all shaped out the way it did, and we got 3 really solid top 3 guys to sit down and interview with. I'm excited to hear what they got to say.
I think first we're going to bring in our third place finisher, the number 44 of Tyler McClellan, was able to get the job done. Give me a second trying to get him in here. There he is. Tyler McClellan. How you got Kyle Short up in the booth? You got me?
Yeah, man.
Tyler, great race out there, man. You just put on a great show. A lot of us were kind of bamboozled up here in the booth. We know you had a lot of speed, but we weren't expecting you to put it out there on the Glen. Great. What was maybe going through your mind on those longer runs? Maybe early on in the race when you were battling with all those drivers.
Well, early on, I really thought I might be able to match pace with him because I held on to I can't think of his name, but I held on to that lead pack for a little while there, but it just started to fall off. I realized they were a lot quicker than me. So on those long runs, it was just a matter of keeping the car clean. I just raced my race. I knew I had enough speed to keep the guys behind at bay. So I just raced my race. A few people in front of me had mistakes. I hate that some people lost out like that, but hey, always happy to take a P3. I really did not expect to be up here today either.
Just a very consistent drive. And what does it really take to be consistent on these road courses? Because we saw a lot of drivers make a lot of mistakes today, but you and Ashton, I think, were the only two guys that really didn't make any mistakes today. Y'all just had a perfect race, pretty much.
Like I said, it's kind of a matter of understanding when somebody's faster than you. It's just there's no point in trying to chase them down and over pushing, over driving the car, and making a mistake doing it. Race within yourself. I tried to do a lot of practice here and made sure what I knew my pace was and where I was pushing it. So I just tried not to push as much as I could, and it worked out.
And you were one of those drivers that came in on the earlier strategy for pit stops. What was maybe was that maybe your decision before going into the race to pit a little earlier than the race leaders?
I just wanted to see how it worked out. I figured the undercut might work a little bit. I didn't never expect it to get in front of them, but I was just seeing if it might, benefit catching up to him a little bit. I knew mathematically with the stops we had that I could probably pit a lap or two earlier and get away with it. But just feeling it out, trying different things.
You're definitely playing a spoiler for these playoff guys coming home third. Can we expect you in maybe some more of these playoff races, maybe next week at Bristol?
I sure hope so. Short tracks aren't my best, but I'll do everything I can. Try to put down a lot of practice. I've got a great team with me to help me out with anything I need. So hopefully so.
Well, a great run out there, Tyler. Anybody you need to thank?
Oh, obviously all the split second guys. Oddly enough, Hunter Matulinas, although we're not in the same team, me and him did quite a lot of practice together. Just running with everybody and all the support. Everybody stays behind me, even though we haven't had some great finishes.
Well, we appreciate you talking to us, Tyler, and we hope to speak to you again soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Tyler. Go out there and celebrate. Now I think we're going to try to get in our second place finisher, our broadcast partner, Alex. Kyle, what you doing, bro?
Did you just say Kyle? All right, you're talking about yourself. But hey man, what's up? We're P2. I was hoping for P1, but Ashton was just a little bit too quick, and I made frankly too many mistakes during the race, especially lap cars having nearly almost spinning into the wall coming out of the carousel and then looping it in turn one. That could have been better, man.
Yeah, you definitely put on a great race, and you were kind of on your own island there in the second spot. What was maybe going through your mind when you were fighting so hard early on in the race with Hunter and Mcclellan?
I was genuinely considering trying to pit early and jump him, but I was in call with Mcclellan. He was purposefully trying to hold up Madalinas so that Jake could try and pull away, but eventually at one point, me being right on their bumper, I overshot the braking zone because they were getting all squirrely around a lap car and doored Mcclellan. So I don't know how much that affected my speed, but it definitely had a mental thing going for the rest of the race, thinking I might have been slower.
How did it feel to race out there with the Great Lakes guys? I know I did my race at New Hampshire, and you did definitely a better job out there today than I would. But how is it really racing out there with those guys?
Chaos. You got the guys who are really fast, and it's like you have to drive really hard, but then at the same time you have the other guys who run this league a lot more for fun, and then they're slower. You're trying to get around them, and then it's getting frustrating. So it's just chaotic because there's people, especially here on the road course, wrecking, and you have to avoid them, also trying to run as fast as you can to catch somebody like Ashton who's just blazing today.
What happened with that? I hate to bring it up, but what happened with that self spin up and one?
Simply put, I wheel hopped it the moment I went to turn in, and so right as I turned in, it wheel hopped, and there was no saving it by that point, so it just kept going. Killed the tires for that last run.
Good thing you were all by yourself pretty much there near the end, but coming down near the end of this truck series season, do we expect to see you in any more races before the end of the year?
It just depends. If I'm not in the booth, I might end up running if I feel like it might be fun, or if I have the time. So maybe, who knows?
Well, anybody you want to thank out there, Alex?
I suppose. I mean, first of all, thank you guys. You guys pay me when I'm in the booth. It's great fun. I love commentating over the races, and thanks to the guys at this league as well. to have you guys commentate over it and broadcast it and have these guys run this great league. It is very fun. I like the people associated with it, so it's good stuff. And then by obligation, thanks to Dad, he gets all this stuff for me to even be able to run these races. So that's also a person you really got to thank.
We appreciate you talking to us, Alex, and we expect you to be ready on Thursday to commentate.
Yeah, I hope so. It should be fun. I believe we're at Chicagoland, right?
Yes, we are.
All right, that'll be a good race.
Well, thanks for talking to us, Alex, and congrats on the second place finish, man.
Thank you, Kyle.
Now we're gonna move on to our race winner, Ashton Lawson. Ashton Lawson, Kyle up in the booth. You got me?
Sir. Yes, sir.
Ashton, you got the job done today. You were on a different planet today. At some points today, I forgot that you were out there in the lead, and I thought Alex and Hunter and all of them were battling for the race lead pretty much back there. But you were just putting on a phenomenal show, man. How did you feel out there just leading the pack just way out in front?
It's pretty calm until about 5 to go. Then I could hear my heart through my ears, and I was getting nervous and getting paranoid about my shifter and all kinds of shit.
Yeah, we've had that happen just earlier this season at Circuit of the Americas, a money shift. But I'm looking at your donuts, your burnouts right now. Is that truck on fire after those burnouts, man? Because you were really burning the house down here at Watkins Glen.
The engine was on fire, but long time coming, so I had to get all of it out of it.
Yeah, you mentioned that it's been a long time coming. How does it feel to finally get that win, get that monkey off your back?
Such a relief. I blew last season's race, stuck it in the wall when catching the leader, so it's great to finally get it done.
Well, another big moment here for you is that you're locked into the next round. It's winning you're in. So you don't have to really worry about Bristol. So what does that really change about your strategy going into next week now that you're already locked into the round of 8?
Can be as aggressive as I want. Take risky moves, do whatever. Don't have to worry about points.
That's what I love to hear. Bristol's gonna be a blast, and especially if you don't really have to worry about your points, so you can possibly go out there and compete for another win. How do you feel about Bristol? Like, how do you feel about your speed at that racetrack?
I felt really good when officials went there. I love the bottom now. It's really quick if you know how to do it properly. So I expect a lot of people to try the high side. So I think the bottom's gonna be the move.
I've got the most important question for you, Ashton. Who you gotta thank for your phenomenal performance out there today, man?
I'm gonna thank RJ, Eric, and all of Spectrum, and also Brandon for showing me the league, showing me Arca, getting me in here.
Well, we appreciate you talking to us, Ashton. You just put on a phenomenal performance in that Hooters machine. You did a great job, and once again, congratulations on your win, man. Go out there and celebrate. You really deserve it. It's a long time coming, like you said.
Thank you.
Of course. And that was our race winner, Ashton Lawson, who's locked himself in to the round of 8, the next round. But we have one more race, Elliot, before we get to that round of 8, and it's 200 laps at Bristol. Wow.
Yeah, they've updated points, and I know you're going to go through those in a second here, but if I'm Ashton Lawson, I am breathing a sigh of relief because the amount of tightness that has come over this gap is completely ridiculous compared to what we entered Watkins Glen with. These guys have no room for error, and if we show up with 30 guys at Bristol, you go from first to last pretty easily there. No mistakes, man. You got to be on your A game, and you have to be ready to make sure that you're gonna have a damaged truck, but you got to be ready to be, on pit road, work that out, and try to stay on the lead lap and manage any bad thing that might happen. So we'll have to wait and see exactly how this goes. But guys like Hunter Madalinas, Daniel Nanny, Shane Neiswanger, Jake Miller are all going to be looking to gain back some ground starting next week.
You were talking about the points. I'm gonna go over those. Well, actually, we're gonna go over the results again real quick. See, Ashton Lawson is your race winner. Alex Kolonix, of course, came home second. Our broadcast partner, Mcclellan in third. Miller fourth. Fitzgerald, Barbagellata. You have Barkuski in here. Eric Kep, Aaron Duclos, your top 10. You have Neiswanger, Brittle, Watler. Brockman was able to come home 15th. You have Justin Benda back there. Matthew Durr. Next slide, you have Madalinas, who was able to come back home for 21st. Aiden DuPont. You have Shiflett back here. You have Nanny, Visser, Bowen, Nicholson, Samuel Hoff rounding out your field. But that was a great job from Madalinas. I have to say it once again. Just a great job to get back to 21st. But I'm going to go over these points real quick for you. We don't have a graphic, so you won't see it on your screen. I'm just going to be saying it. Ashton Lawson has locked himself in the next round with that win. So great job from him. William Barbagellata is the points leader coming into Bristol. You have second in points, well, third in points out of the drivers that don't. Third in points, let's say. Ross Brockman is 3 points behind Barbagellata. You have Eric Kep, who's 2 points behind Brockman. You have Duclos, who's 1 point behind Kep. You have Matthew Durr, who's 7 points behind Duclos. And then you have a tie on the bubble between Gavin Fitzgerald and Hunter Madalinas. And then we go outside of the bubble. We have Hunter Brittle in the 9th spot, 1 point behind both Madalinas and Fitzgerald. Then in the next spot, you have Jake Miller, who is 8 points behind Madalinas. Then you have Neiswanger, who's 9 points behind Madalinas. And then you have Daniel Nanny, who is 14 points behind Madalinas and Fitzgerald. And then you have Sensi, who I think is mathematically eliminated at this point and would have to go into Bristol with the win. Michael Sensi would probably have to notch a win or hope for a lot of drivers to have bad luck at Bristol Motor Speedway.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, like I was trying to say about Gavin and Matthew Durr and all those guys, the points mattered. And now that puts Gavin right on the edge where he may have had, you know, a point above Hunter and Brittle. But the same thing for Hunter. Imagine if he lost out on those 6 or 7 points, he'd be tied essentially with Jake Miller around the 9th or 10th spot in points. So kudos to Hunter for coming back and trying to earn those points and essentially keeping himself in this picture. He's not out of the top 8. Now he's just tied for that 8th spot. So that's a better position than being on the outside looking in, as everybody knows. But you got to wonder if Gavin's maybe kicking himself for not driving Jake and Barb a little bit harder. He beat Barb, but not driving Jake a little bit harder throughout that run to potentially secure that extra point, because that may mean something at the end of this when we get to Bristol.
Yeah, this is going to be very interesting next couple of weeks here in the Great Lakes Truck Series, but next week is the big one. We go to Bristol for the cutoff of the round of 8. Who will go to the round of 8 for the next 3 races? Well, I would like to once again congratulate Ashton Lawson on his phenomenal victory out there tonight. He just put on a phenomenal show here at Watkins Glen International, and a well-deserved victory. Finally gets the job done, and he burned the house down and locked himself into the next round of the Great Lakes Truck Series presented by Patti Engineering. And I would like to thank all of you for tuning in tonight, and have a great night. And we hope to see you either Thursday or Tuesday for Great Lakes action. The Cup Series will be at Chicagoland on Thursday.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.